When we were able to secure certain documents, we saw really how deliberately the two sides conspired to make sure that the victims did not know the status of the case, weren't told that it was going to be disposed of through a deal, and in fact were not even told when court cases were scheduled. And those emails actually were some of the strongest evidence that this was a perversion of justice. It became clear to me, and certainly to Julie, that the secret to telling this story was to find the victims of Mr. Epstein, who had been completely ignored by the court process in the first place.
I had to figure out who they were and try to find out where they were after 10, 12, 13 long years. All the court records and all the public records, they were identified as Jane Does. The records were redacted. In some places, they would release a birth date of one girl, but they wouldn't have her name. And then in another place, maybe they would have her first name, but not the birth date. So it was one big puzzle. I saw this terrible pattern in their lives. There were so many of them that had either criminal records, domestic problems, mental health problems, drug addictions. I thought, well, this is already more than a story about asking them, hey, what do you think about Alex Acosta being nominated? To me, the story that hadn't been told was the story about how the criminal justice system really let these girls down.
It was like a thick packet of papers. It said, the Miami Herald, Julie K. Brown.
That I became concerned that I was going to re-traumatize them by contacting them out of the blue. And I ultimately decided to send them all letters.
She printed out these stories of what was happening in the last couple of years. I had no idea that there was lawsuits going on for the sweetheart deal. And I had no idea that so many of these victims gone through this exact same thing.
Michelle lived a very difficult life after she was molested by Jeffrey Epstein. People in her life advised her that maybe it wasn't a good idea for her to raise this dark part of her life again.
We were pretty sure she was going to go on camera. Julie had talked to her a little bit about it, and we weren't 100% sure, but we were really hopeful.
I think ultimately she decided to trust me. She felt like this was something that she wanted to do, so she ignored all the advice she was given and against all odds decided to sit down with me and with Emily.
Who were you back then?
It's hard to remember because I've changed so much. After that happened, it was like night and day. I was so angry and not knowing why. My thing that I wanted to do was like pick something up. I can remember the countertop at my parents' house. I was so upset. I just wanted to break it, and I ripped it off the countertop.
What were your parents saying at this time? Did they say, like, we need to get you to get help?
Yeah. They're like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to fucking die. I just want to go away. I don't know what's wrong with me. I want to be somewhere else.
Emily and I, when we left that interview, we were very quiet in our thoughts, knowing that it was such an emotional and important story. Each of the girls had different circumstances to some degree, but they were children. They were young.
I went to him steadily from 14, 15, 16. I held so much guilt, shame. 25 is when I got into the hard drugs. I landed myself in prison for 3 years.
Epstein served 13 months. Courtney served 3 years in a state prison.
It's just like this unbearable hurt and pain that I was just trying to medicate that I just didn't want to feel. I didn't want to live at all unless if I was impaired.
It's something that felt so stupid back then. I thought had no relevance, and that if I told anybody, they'd be like, you're a whore, you wanted money, why would you do that?
To me, still to this day, it is my biggest shame that I carry around that I will never get rid of. Ghislaine brought me in. I brought other girls in. Those girls brought other girls in. Jeffrey constantly had young teenagers coming through his door for one purpose and one purpose alone. I'm really, really sad that I brought other girls my age and even younger into a world that they should have never been introduced to.
It feels like you're never going to be good enough for the rest of your life.
To think that they're still blaming themselves after all this time it's just really hard to watch.